Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Ferrell. Just to give you a little introduction about myself, I am a dental surgeon in South Ogden, Utah. I've also worked with the young adults for a long time. I've been a young single adult stake president and bishop for the last decade, and so I have a lot of experience working with young adults, and that's really where my passion is. I speak a lot about young adults. As a matter of fact, I spoke at Education Week at BYU Provo in Idaho this last year. I'm in the process of writing a book and speak frequently professionally to businesses on how they can connect with millennials in the workplace, and also in a religious context of how we can inspire and connect with millennials or young adults better than we're doing. We're having a problem with that. So that's a little bit about me and what I do with my life. I appreciate this opportunity that I have to speak on High Five Live. What a great opportunity this is to share, hopefully, an uplifting message. But I'm really grateful for Corey. We live in a world of a lot of negativity, and what a great thing it is to have a positive forum like this to share some pretty powerful experiences. So with that, let me go ahead and share a little message with you. I would guess that not many of you have ever met a 7-year-old who's been expelled from school. Well, you're looking at one. When I was 7 years old, and the first week in kindergarten, my teacher took me by the hand, walked me to the principal's office, and sat me out in front of the principal's office and walked in and had a conversation with the principal. I'm too young, so I don't know what they're talking about. It's going over my head, but I did hear the teacher say that Robbie Ferrell can't be in my class anymore. I'm 7. I'm like, wow. So the teacher walks out. She walks right past me, doesn't say anything to me. I'm sitting there for a few minutes, and then my mom comes walking in. I can tell my mom has been pretty emotional, and she comes over and rubs my head and tells me she loves me, and she walks in the principal's office. And I listen to them have a conversation, and I don't understand much of what's being said, but I do understand this. I heard the principal tell my mother that Robbie could no longer attend school at that school. So my mom came out. She took me by the hand. We walked out in the parking lot, and we sat in the car, and I asked my mom, I said, Mom, what did I do wrong, Mom? How come I can't come back to school? I love school. And my mom broke down and started crying. And she said, Robbie, this isn't your fault. This is my fault. So, see, I am a 7-year-old dropout from school. That's pretty impressive. What I didn't tell you is that I had a very severe speech impediment growing up. I stuttered a lot. I would speak really fast. I would leave syllables out of my words, which I think is quite brilliant, actually. But my mom thought that I was at a point where she could understand me and I was ready for public school. And so she enrolled me in public school, and sure enough, people couldn't understand me, so they kicked me out of school. But I went on to go to Stanford University and to enroll as a 7-year-old. That's quite impressive. 7 years old at Stanford. And I went to a year-long program, a very intense speech therapy program for a year. So on my resume is that I'm a graduate from Stanford University. Well, kind of. Anyway, from there, I went to speech therapy for years. And by the time I was 12 years old, I was in speech therapy almost every day after school. And sadly, really couldn't participate in a lot of other things and just was never successful at anything. At 12 years old, I was with a therapist that I was reading out loud, and this therapist would frequently make me cry and embarrass me with my disability, and I think she might have been in the wrong career, but I decided one day I was going to not let her make me cry. So I came to a word that I couldn't say, and I was just going to keep saying it so I could say it right, and I was trying to fight back the tears, and she said, listen, just go on, and kind of mocking me a little bit. And I said, no, I'm not going to go on until I get this word right. So I kept trying, and finally she slams her hand on the desk, and she looks at me, and she says, Rob, you have got to be the stupidest kid I have ever taught. See, my friends, labels stick with us. And I have had challenges in my life with the labels that have been placed on me. That I was kicked out of school, I didn't belong there. 4 years ago, when I was a kid, we had labels we don't use, thankfully, anymore. I was called slow. I was called retarded. I was called disabled. Horrible words, labels to place on people, and now called stupid by a teacher. See, when we get labels in our lives, it determines, I think, many times how we act. And I don't care who you are, you probably have labels that you're struggling with. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not successful enough. I haven't been called in this calling. I haven't done this. I'm not married. I'm blah, blah, blah. All of these labels that we place on ourselves. And it's unfortunate that sometimes in the church we put labels on people. We call people addicts, and we call people single, and we call people inactive. And we have these labels that can stick with people and sometimes determine their attitudes. See, I think Satan could care less about sin. And that seems a little bold, but I will tell you, sin is the byproduct of what Satan's actually trying to accomplish. What Satan is really trying to do ties in very well with labels. He is trying to create something that the Lord fully explores and explains in Doctrine and Covenants, section 10, verse 63, where the Lord is going to tell you what the purpose of Satan is. And his purpose is to stir up the hearts of men unto contention through paraphrasing, through points of false doctrine. So it's contention that Satan wants us in, and he does that masterfully by putting labels on us. And when we have those labels, we are in contention. Am I stupid? Am I smart? Am I loved? Am I a good dad? Am I a lousy dad? Am I a good son of God? Am I a disappointment to God? I mean, constantly putting us in these labels where it creates contention. And when we create contention, that is what Satan wants to create. Because when you're in contention, am I worthy? Am I not worthy? Am I loved? Am I not loved? Do I have faith? Do I not have faith? When you're stuck in contention, that is where you stop feeling the love of God. That's where you feel disappointment. That's where you feel overwhelmed. That's where you feel like you're not good enough. That's where all of these feelings come from that I think many times crush us. So that's where Satan wants us. That's his purpose, is to get us in contention. When we're in contention, we then do stupid things. And the sad thing that I find, at least in my experience working with young adults, is that we then focus on the stupid things people are doing instead of what created the contention. And if we can change the contention, we oftentimes can change the stupid things. Let me give you an example of that. So I went through high school. I got into high school. I had never, ever been successful at anything I'd done. My parents tried all kinds of sports, basketball, baseball, soccer. I failed at all those things. I failed at everything that I was involved in. The speech impediment was a crippling thing to me. So by the time I go into high school, all my friends are going out for the football team. So I decided to go out for the football team, and my parents are nervous because I failed at everything, and there's just one more thing I'm going to probably fail at. Well, I quickly found out that I had a talent to be able to hit people really hard. Hasn't served me anywhere else, but at that time in my life, I could finally do something successful, and I ran with that, and I became a really good football player. And my dad was so excited for the opportunity for me to succeed that he started coming to my practices. And not just a couple. He got off of work and he'd come to every practice. And within a short period of time, once we started playing football, my dad got a nickname. They started calling him Coach Daddy. Well, in 9th grade, that ain't so cool to have your dad called Coach Daddy. But one day, my dad crossed the line, and after practice, he went up to my coach and he said, "Coach, Rob is just thriving in football. He's loving it. What are some things that he can do at home to work on to be a better football player?" Well, my coach thought that was really stupid, and I had not a very great mentor as a football coach. So he kind of laughed at that, but then he walked into the locker room in front of the entire team, not just the freshman team, all of the football players. He went on to mock and make fun of me in front of all the players, making fun of Coach Daddy and how Rob needs extra help at home. And I'll tell you, I've been embarrassed and I have been mocked and made fun of my whole life because of my speech impediment. So I was furious. I went home. Look at the power of contention. Look at the power of labels. I'm stuck in contention now, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to do something stupid. So what do? I go home. I walk in the kitchen. My dad's there, and I throw my backpack across the kitchen floor. I look at my dad, and I scream and yell at him. And I say, "I hate you. You're an embarrassment to me. I don't want you around school. I don't want you to show up for football practice. If you come to practice again, I will quit. I don't want you in my life." Ouch. See, people act like that. People do dumb things. People react like this when they're stuck in contention. If we want to help people, we got to help figure out why they're in contention. And we got to change that. And that is typically doctrinally something that we can do a very powerful way. Anyway, so I went to practice the next day. Guess what? Dad's not there. All week, Dad's not there. I'm thinking, okay, Dad finally got the message for not to show up for football practice. Well, a few weeks go by. My dad's nowhere to be found. And I am in a scrimmage, and I have a little strain in my muscle. And so I'm laying on the grass, and I'm stretching out my leg. In our practice field, we have this huge field with these big bushes and trees all the way around the field. And I'm sitting there just looking off at the bushes. And all of a sudden, across the football field, I see a pair of legs standing in the bushes behind the fence. And I look a little more carefully, and I see this face in the bushes looking at our practice field. And sure enough, it was my dad. And I will tell you that I laid there as a 15-year-old boy on that grass, and I had an incredible experience where I sat there and thought to myself, there is nothing I could say or do that would get my father to stop loving me, stop supporting me, helping me. And here he is outside of, I've pushed him all the way out there. He's out there in the bushes behind the fence. But he's not giving up. He's not going away. That profoundly changed my attitude about my dad, but it did something else. It killed contention. It helped me connect with God to help me understand that there's nothing I can do, nothing I can say, no way I can act that God would stop loving me, that God would not still be cheering me on and helping me and standing behind the fence and in the bushes if that's where he needs to be, because I've pushed him that far out of my life. Love is what changes people. Love is what kills contention. And that's, to me, the solution of how we help people overcome labels and this contention that's a result of that. I think Christ wants to do everything he can to remove those labels from us, right? He's doing everything he can to properly define us. And so I think, how do we allow that to happen in our lives more profoundly? How do we allow that to happen on a more regular basis? Well, one of the things we have to do is we have to find mentors. We have to reach out to other people to help us. Because part of contention is typically when we're in contention, we're in isolation, we're in separation. We pull ourselves away from people. So part of that solution is allowing to have mentors be part of our lives. So let me tell you another quick story about, time's going fast. Let me tell this quick story because it's the name of the title. So later in football, my senior year in football, this coach was just a horrible mentor. And he did a lot of terrible things to destroy young men's confidence and created a constant state of contention. One of the things he did is that in our football team, if you tried out, you made the team. There's no cuts. And he didn't like that. So he wanted to get rid of all the soft and players and that weren't very good. So we had 3 seniors that joined the football team the summer of going into our senior year. And so these 3 guys were all overweight. They'd never played football before, but growing up in California, everybody played football. So these guys knew this was kind of a social way of getting to know people. So we started practice in the summertime, and I saw these 3 guys, and I thought, this coach is going to destroy these guys because he's going to make it so difficult for them, they'll want to quit. So sure enough, practice goes on, and we're in training during the summer, and he's making life miserable for these guys. He's putting labels on them. He's calling them names. He's putting them in situations for them to fail. He's creating contention so that they will quit. Well, Friday comes, and Friday, the end of the week of practice, 2 out of the 3 guys don't show up for practice on Friday. And I thought, this coach, he got rid of those 2 guys. How sad. What kind of so sad to me. But we have mentors like this in our lives right now that are doing the same kind of a thing, right? So anyway, this one guy shows up. His name's Wes, and he's probably 300 pounds. And great guy, but he shows up, and now all of the attention of the coach is on this one guy. And you can see he's going to destroy him. So we have a long day of practice, and he's just picking on him constantly. And we get to the end of practice, and we do up-downs. And up-downs where you run in place with all your pads, and the coach blows the whistle. You hit the ground. You have to jump back up as fast as you can. And the coach would time us. We'd do 5 of those. If we didn't do them in a certain period of time, then we had to do 5 more. Well, 300 pounds, Wes, when he drops to the ground, how fast do you think it is to get him up off the ground? It takes a little time. And so Wes was the last person to get up off the ground. And so the coach would say, thanks to Wes, we're going to do 5 more up downs. We do 5 more. Oh, thanks to Wes, we didn't make the time. We're going to do 5 more. Well, we've done 50 of these now. And we've got guys that are starting to throw up and people are getting sick. And now he is getting the whole team to turn on Wes. And they start calling him names and they start saying, labels of his weight and making fun of him and threatening him and challenging him in what? Some kind of effort to inspire him? I don't think that's going to work. Well, then all of a sudden, our star player, Jacob, is in the front of the field. He takes off. He runs right around, stands right next to Wes, running in place. I happen to be directly behind Wes. So I'm watching this interaction, and I'm wondering, what is our star player going to do and say to Wes? Is he going to kick him when he's down? Is he going to yell at him? Is he going to join what everyone else on the team is doing? And I watched, and I heard Jacob say to Wes, Wes, don't you dare quit. Wes, if you quit, I quit. And the whistle blew and we dropped to the ground and I saw an amazing thing. The star player of our football team laid on the ground until big old Wes got up off the ground. So he was the last one to get off the ground. And he's running the place. He hits Wes on the back of the helmet and he says, Wes, you quit, I quit. And the whistle blows. We drop down, do a few more. Every time Jacob is laying on the ground so that Wes isn't the last person up off the ground. And every time he's yelling, you quit, I quit. The coach would then say, oh, thanks to Jacob, we're doing 5 more. And all of a sudden, the whole team stopped yelling at Wes. And the whole team, no one was yelling at our star player. And everyone's quiet. And what people could hear is Jacob saying to Wes, you quit, I quit. I will tell you, as a senior in high school, I watched the entire football team drop to the ground. And they all laid on the ground until Wes got up as the first person. And the rest of the team jumped up and started yelling, you quit, I quit. My message is simple. We got to kill labels. Contention is what Satan wants. Jesus Christ takes away contention by loving us. And I will tell you, he is on the ground laying next to us saying, you quit, I quit. And the incredible thing is, he won't quit. There's nothing we can do to force him to quit, to make him want to quit. He won't quit. So our job is just keep getting up and trying. And we will find a connection that will happen with Jesus Christ, who could then properly define us and help us kill contention. I hope this helped. Thanks for letting me share a great message. You guys are all wonderful. Have a fantastic evening. Good night.